Sort of an odd fact about the Scary Story guy, my wife does not like horror movies. She won't watch them with me. She does like to listen to me tell her what they're about, what happens in them, that kind of thing. Or at least she's willing to do it. To say that she likes it might be an overstatement. But only once has she ever actually stopped me from telling her about a movie. Just halfway through said, you know what? Nope, that's too intense. I don't want to hear anymore. And that was with the 2022 Danish horror film Speak No Evil. Now, I of course loved Speak No Evil, but I'll be the first to admit, it's not for everyone. It's very bleak, very intense, and without spoiling too much, I'll just say that American audiences might be used to films ending on a bit more of a positive note. And if you've been alive for the past few months, you've probably seen the trailer for the American remake of Speak No Evil, which just hit theaters. In fact, it's quite possible you've seen the trailer about 300 times. Now, I just want to say right off the bat that this American remake is not bad. It's not bad, okay? But it makes several choices that I think really dull its effectiveness. And I would actually go so far as to say not only could my wife handle hearing about the American remake of Speak No Evil, but she could probably just watch it without too much trouble. So welcome back, everybody. I'm Jake, the Scary Story Guy, and today we are kicking off spooky season. It is officially October, which means I'm going to be doubling my video output this month. So if you are looking for a scary book or movie to keep you company as the leaves turn orange and fall off trees, then please subscribe to this channel because you might just find what you're looking for. And of course, today we're talking about Speak No Evil, the American retelling of a story of a family who befriends another family on vacation and goes to spend an ill-fated weekend with them. Now, it's going to be hard to talk about the American version without comparing it to the original Danish version that came out a couple of years ago. So I'm going to do some kind of American-centric details up front, and then maybe start to get into some spoiler talk near the end, and don't worry, I will warn you before that happens. But the whole conceit of the original Speak No Evil is just a social commentary on what giant f***ing pushovers we are. It's meant to apply to Danish culture specifically, but it's actually fairly universal because a lot of us are content to just get walked all over, disrespected, degraded, as long as it means we can avoid having conflict with someone. And that's the title, Speak No Evil. We're so hesitant to stand up for ourselves if it means saying something that might potentially result in an awkward social interaction. And it's almost like a Brothers Grimm fairy tale with how clearly and just ruthlessly that message is conveyed to the audience. So you've got these two couples. One of them in the American version is played by Mackenzie Davis and Scoot McNairy. And they are just the avatars of this pushover spirit. And as they and their daughter get invited to go spend the weekend with new friends, they find themselves putting up with things that nobody should tolerate just in the name of social grace. And that second couple, those boundary pushers, are expertly played here by James McAvoy and Franciosi. In fact, I would go so far to say that these two actually saved the movie with their performances because they're both clearly having so much fun and just doing so much that I don't think this movie works without them going for it like this. I've been a huge fan of McAvoy in particular for a long time. I think Split from 2016 is M. Night Shyamalan's best movie in probably 2 decades, and his performance is just such a huge part of why. And he's insane in this movie too. I mean, you definitely get a feel for what he's doing just by watching the trailer, but his performance is actually one of the few ways in which I feel like this movie improves on the original. But unfortunately, his character is also the origin of where I think a lot of this movie goes wrong. And it's nothing against McAvoy, it's just this movie seems to have a completely different message than the original. I heard an interview with the director James Watkins where he said that basically this movie was intended to be a commentary on toxic masculinity. And listen, I'm very thankful to Watkins for bringing us 2012's The Woman in Black, a very effective ghost story starring Daniel Radcliffe, just a barrage of fantastic jump scares, but I digress. But the whole masculinity angle on this movie is just a huge swing and a miss. It just doesn't seem to understand what it's trying to say, or maybe it just doesn't have anything interesting to say. Because, so McAvoy's character, he's presented as very traditionally masculine. First of all, he is yoked in this movie. Holy shit. But he's confident and athletic and he takes charge, and the movie really makes a serious point of highlighting all the ways in which McAvoy's character is traditionally masculine in what we might consider to be a positive way. And then it really makes it seem like all those things are somehow inextricably linked with being a murderous villain. And it even seems to be quite strongly implying that these traditionally masculine outward indicators are actually huge red flags for him. Like if a guy likes contact sports or works out, it's like, oh, told you, look out for him. But meanwhile, the movie also clearly doesn't think much of the other guy, the Scoot McNairy character, who, by the way, is maybe the weakest and most impotent man to ever appear on screen. It's actually, it kind of becomes like over the top what a huge pushover this guy is. And so it's like, if this movie is a commentary on masculinity, What is it saying? Being a strong man is bad and being a weak man is also bad? Maybe being a man, period, is bad, but being a weak man is slightly less bad than being a strong man because at least you don't pose as much of a threat? I don't know. I actually don't know, which is what the problem is. I mean, the original film made no bones about being a morality tale, and you walk away from it knowing exactly what the movie's trying to say. This remake has a similar tone, and based on several interviews I've seen with McAvoy and the director, it's clear we're meant to view this as a morality tale about masculinity. There's just no telling what we're actually meant to take from it. And the ways in which the final act of this movie deviates from the original only serve to muddy the waters further. There's no clarity to be found in the resolution here. I think the one thing we can take away for sure is that overly coddling and permissive parenting is the worst kind of parenting. This whole thing could have been avoided like multiple times if the parents had just been willing to tell their like 12-year-old daughter, no, we're not going to turn our entire lives upside down so that we can go back for your anxiety stuffed rabbit. We'll just get you a new one. Anyway, this isn't a bad movie. It's quite watchable. McAvoy absolutely crushes it, and those who haven't seen the original will likely find it quite intense. I just think my primary issue is that the original was primarily a social commentary film where the social commentary was very effective, and this is the exact opposite of that. So if I hadn't seen the original Speak No Evil, I'd give this a solid 3 stars out of 5, but knowing what I know, I have no choice but to give it a tepid 2.5. Now, I do just briefly want to touch on spoilers here, so if you haven't seen this or you haven't seen the original Speak No Evil, this may be where you want to stop watching. Spoiler talk begins now. Okay, so in the original, it obviously goes about as badly as possible for this poor family. The son gets his tongue cut out, and the parents get themselves stoned to death. This American version has a much more American ending, wherein all the good guys survive, they kill the bad guys, and they even manage to rescue the kid the bad guys kidnapped. And I can only assume this kid's future therapy bills would bankrupt several small countries. And the original condemns this family, right? It doesn't absolve the villains, but there's a very clear message. If you are incapable of standing up for yourself and standing up for your loved ones, this is what you fucking get. And in so pointedly altering this ending, the American version defangs any ultimate message it could possibly be giving here. It also frankly just makes the movie much less memorable and effective. This goes from holy shit, I've never seen anything like that before, I'm gonna be thinking about this for the next few weeks kind of movie, to just a standard home invasion movie that you've seen 100 times. You come away from the original film knowing exactly why it was made, right? It had a really interesting message to deliver and a really interesting story to tell, and it did both of those things fantastically. I come away from the American version just having no idea why it was made. I mean, obviously they want to make money, but besides that, you can't say it was to bring a great foreign horror film to an American audience because they changed it so much. And even if they hadn't, like, the original is mostly in English anyway, so it just doesn't make sense. I'm just confused, and I don't like being confused, so my honest advice to you would be to just watch the original if you can stomach it, because it is a far superior artistic achievement. And that's all I have to say about that, so as always, stay tuned for more spooky content coming soon, but in the meantime, thank you for watching this video, and here's hoping you survive to see the next one.